As we find ourselves in the era of cloud computing, I just wanted to provide a kind of a little bit of a history lesson and a discussion about how we got to where we are and why it's important for everybody to understand what cloud computing can really do for you and your company. So here at iBusiness Network, we started a cloud back in 1999 before it was called a cloud, because back then there was no such thing as cloud, right? Um, it really started with the internet becoming everywhere, that it was more easily accessible, it was becoming more affordable, it was becoming faster, it wasn't just dial-up, that old AOL, you've got mail, that was so slow that nobody really could use it for business. But as the technology progressed, um, we found that you were able to connect over what is called a wide area network from office to office without having really expensive point-to-point telephone lines. So the internet really started, and this whole cloud computing hosting thing really started as a way to reduce technology costs that were primarily paid for by the reduction in your telecommunications costs. And we had one of our first clients basically had payback within 90 days for an upgrade of their ERP system onto our cloud, just paid for by the reduction in telecommunication costs. So, telephone companies might have been monopolies or still are monopolies, but nobody ever said they were dumb, right? So if they see people cutting into their margins, they're going to do something about it. So they started buying, these big warehouses, distribution centers, and putting in what were called points of presence, right? POPs, right? This is where they put their telecommunications equipment, their telephone equipment into a data center, right? It was a warehouse, kind of secured it a little bit, put fences around it, maybe had some security cameras, and their telephone lines would come in there. And then they would rent you space in there, in a cage or a cabinet, where you would put your equipment, and then you would get your telecommunications from them still. But now, because you were at their point of presence, it was easier for them and less expensive. And you would get really fast service because they put these data centers in these telecommunication hubs like Washington, D.C., here in Atlanta. And so you would get really fast internet, which is not nearly as fast as it is today, but it was fast enough then that it was a way that we could offer, business management software over the internet, and it would work, as good or better than it was on premise because of the technology that we put into our equipment, that we put into their data centers, right? And very quickly, everything moves fast in technology, but very quickly, we had struck deals with companies for creative licensing of their software. So even though we could not rent software because that would affect their revenue recognition, we were able to buy licenses and then sub-license them to customers and offer them on a monthly payment program or an indefinite financing agreement, as with SAP. And so that was really the beginning of application hosting, right? That we could take an application and we could put it onto a server and either offer it to a single customer at a time or to multiple customers, chopped up and secure, and then we manage security. So we kind of got out of that business pretty quickly. But the point being that was the beginning of application hosting. And it was, again, a way for companies to take the internet and turn it into a competitive advantage, right? If I can get more expensive software on more expensive technology than I used to be able to get on my own, and that I didn't have the expertise to manage, I could create a competitive advantage in my business while lowering my costs, right? A lot of times cloud is sold as a cost game, but really it is not. It is about, turning the internet into a competitive advantage, making powerful business technology simple. These were the ways that we sold it, even though we could do ROI calculations that said it was less. You have to believe it. And a lot of times people didn't believe it unless they were actually eliminating headcount or doing things that wasn't the point in our opinion. The point in our opinion is to help make your business more efficient. And it still is. But as the internet was evolving, you had some really smart people who renamed hosting into cloud and called, a monthly payment programs subscription. And so the nature of the game kind of changed. I wish I was that smart to have created those words and to have marketed them as efficiently and effectively as other people did. But the point is more that now the way that people consumed it changed. And really what was the goal of that change was obviously to sell more and to make more money. Because originally subscriptions were trying to get a payback in 2 to 3 years. And over time, that payback on that, buy versus rent kind of calculation spread out to 5 or 7 years, or sometimes even longer. But now it was a new ballgame. It was cloud. And I always remember that famous or infamous rant or explainer by Larry Ellison, the head of Oracle. At the time, he was, really passionate about how there is no such thing as cloud. We're not climbing some beanstalk up to some magical cloud with a data center on it that is just magically providing applications. It's computers, it's networks, it's software, it's everything that was on premise. Now it is just in somebody else's data center. I used to describe it as the wire going longer from your computer to that closet to the wire to my closet that's in a data center somewhere. But really, the advantages of cloud were originally defined in what was called a cloud maturity model, right? And it was more than just economies of scale, right? You did have some economies of scale. If I bought a lot of equipment from Dell at the time, I got a better price than you. And then if I took that equipment and I could sell it to multiple people, because you usually don't use that much of all the aspects of your computer, especially when you have a finite capacity on a particular piece of hardware. You have to buy more than you need at all times, because if you're growing, you will run out soon, and you don't want to buy a computer every year. So there were some economies of scale that we would pass on to our customers. But the cloud maturity model, which is really passé now because the technology has changed yet again, was talking about different levels of efficiency that you could gain in the cloud, right? So if I just had a computer and then I chopped it up, I was still limited by that one computer. When virtualization came out and I could take pools of computer and put them together and make them into a massive computing platform and then chop it up into little pieces, I got more economies of scale. So that was a higher level on the maturity model. So there were levels on the maturity model that were related to the technology on the hardware side, right? So now there are things that are called containers, right? So you put your virtual computers into a container, and the container can actually grow as you use more, it takes more, which is good and bad, right? It's great in that as you grow and as you need more, or as, let's say, you run a sale for some holiday weekend and your e-commerce takes off, that container can grow. And then when, the holiday is over and the sale is over, it can shrink down. So again, you're becoming more efficient with your computing platform, a higher level of maturity. It also related to the way that you access the information in the cloud, right? In the original cloud or in the hosting days, and there were still a lot of hosted applications, the data center, the cloud, acts as the mainframe did back in the old mainframe days. And then you would have a dumb terminal which would access that mainframe computer. And in hosting, it's kind of the same thing in that you have a local workstation. There is always something on the ground in the cloud, which then basically accesses computer programs in the data center and you get back keystrokes. You send keystrokes and mouse clicks, and you get back pictures of what's actually happening on that server. That's one level of maturity, but a higher level of maturity was when you didn't need anything on your computer to access that application and act as a dumb terminal. Right, so there's the remote desktop protocol in Windows. There are lots of these different protocols that are installed on your local computer to access that quote unquote cloud mainframe computer. Or a higher level of maturity was considered the browser-based access, right? So if you had Google Chrome or Firefox or Edge or whatever it's called at the time, or Safari, and you don't need to install anything, not even a plugin into those browsers, those internet browsers, and you could access your applications, then that's considered a higher level of maturity because it's a lower touch on your computer. So these are all different maturity levels within the cloud. And so now we're getting even further along in the growth of technology, and we could go on for a long period of time about what these maturities are. But really, the point of this video and telling this history is more about how the cloud is ever changing and evolving, and it's not about the technology, right? The cloud service provider has to provide a certain level of technology. They have to provide a certain level of security. They have to provide all these different things for you to make it easy for you to just run your business. At the end of the day, that's the goal. And there are many types of clouds. There's, just something that is, let's say, cloud native, born in the cloud. We are the best cloud software known to mankind because we are cloud, right? Who cares? The advantage of that is that they can typically have a better economy of scale. To me, subscription is just a pricing mechanism. I don't really care how you pay for it. How you consume it is really totally up to you. It's about what you can do for your business. So those applications tend to be very effective, very efficient. They seem to work really well these days. They're mature too. When they first came out, these cloud apps sucked. But now if you look at Salesforce and NetSuite and Acumatica and Intact and all these different, cloud applications, they're pretty darn good. Like Microsoft Office 365, the browser-based one, used to just really, I hated it. I couldn't use it. But now it's not bad. I still like my desktop Outlook, but, if I'm on the road, the web-based one works great and I love it, So they're mature. Right. So again, that maturity we've hit. But, if you're using one of those applications, that's all they do. Where there are, hosting companies that will give you access to those, and they'll just take the whole desktop and the whole server environment out of your office, and all you need to have is internet access from anywhere. And with remote working, that's really kind of cool, that you can just access everything from anywhere. But, I always say life is a pendulum. We had the horrible COVID, and so everybody worked from home. Now people are going back to the office, and we're somewhere in the middle. And this is where we're seeing more and more multi-cloud, right? So I might use Office 365 for my productivity apps. I might use one of these web business management softwares. I might have a different CRM software, a different payroll company. And all that has to be coming together somewhere, somehow, right? And that's really multi-cloud. There are lots of tools for doing that nowadays, and middleware applications that are even in the cloud to kind of connect them up. It's really kind of cool, and it's kind of moving all the time. So, we are in the era of cloud. And if you are not using the cloud to your business advantage, you're probably missing out on something, because the likelihood is you're using cloud, whether you know it or not. I mean, everything is in the cloud. Netflix is in the cloud, right? Amazon, everything is in the cloud. So Amazon is a cloud, right? And that's the difference also. There's public cloud, there's private cloud, there's, multi-tenant cloud, single tenant, lots of buzzwords. So the point of all that is, if you are a small to medium-sized business that is looking to improve your business operations, to grow, to thrive, to survive, whatever it happens to be for your business, it's really important that you have an advocate, a trusted business advisor, somebody who you know, like, and trust, right? Whether it be um, an independent contractor, whether it be somebody who is your chief technology officer, if you're that big, or your business management software partner, your managed service provider, your cloud service provider, right? All these people are providing cloud engagement executives and different titles for helping make you more successful in the cloud. And my advice to you is to find someone or some company that you can use to help you navigate the ever-changing waters of the cloud era, because it's only going to keep on changing and keep on changing faster as artificial intelligence enters into our technology more and more. So I hope you found this useful. Please subscribe to our blog, go to our YouTube channel, send me a note. Looking forward to having more of these chats with you. Have a great day.